So today I'm super excited. I am doing my review for the 2010 remake of A Nightmare on Elm Street. So I just watched it the other day, hadn't seen it. I basically had no plans to really watch this film ever, and then I saw my boy Lee over at Drum Dum's review of it, and he really enjoyed it. We often tend to agree on films, aside from Amazing Spider-Man, but we won't get into that. But yeah, we often agree, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and finally give this movie a chance. This is actually part of a new series that I really wanted to start on this channel. I've been thinking about for a while, which, if you read the title, is called About Time Reviews, where I'm going to be reviewing films that are well known and have been out for a while that I just haven't seen. And I say well known because they don't necessarily have to be popular, obviously, since I'm starting with this remake. But yeah, it's just something that I've been wanting to do on my channel that I thought would be really fun and a good way for me to kind of force myself to watch other films, because I have a really bad habit of just watching the same stuff I always watch, and then I'll watch newer stuff to review, but there's a lot of films that I just have not forced myself to watch yet. If you guys have any movies you would like me to check out, make sure to leave them in the comments below on this video, and I will definitely take a look. If it's something I've already seen, I may not review it, but if it's been a while since I've seen it, maybe I'll rewatch it and decide if I want to review it. So, go ahead, leave your comments. So we're just gonna jump into this, and I'm going to start by saying that I actually enjoyed this film, which hurts to say, and I'm mad about it. I feel like the trailer for this film really made it look horrible. For me personally, watching the trailer, I was like, oh, this movie looks so bad, I never want to see it. I even rewatched the trailer recently. It was still like, oh, I do not want to watch this film. I finally gave in and did it. And I'm kind of glad I did, because I actually sort of enjoyed it. I mean, it's nowhere near the same as the first one, of course, and I definitely have pros and cons to it. But all in all, it's not as bad as I feel like people make it out to be. So I'm gonna go ahead. I got notes here that I'm gonna be reading off of, so I'm just gonna go ahead and get into it. So if I keep looking down, that is why. So I will say, one of the things that I really liked, that really surprised me, was how quickly the Dean character dies. He basically, oh, and I should say, spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen the remake as well, if you don't want anything spoiled for you, then I would suggest watching it and then coming back and watching this review. I know it seems weird to do a spoiler alert for something that is a remake, but it is very much different in a lot of ways from the original, so there is stuff to spoil. So yeah, the Dean character dies right away, and that really was surprising. I did not expect that to happen, so I was shocked. I was shocked when he died right away, and I really liked that. I liked that it kind of did that surprise. I thought it was kind of weird, and I wasn't really sure how I felt about the fact that a big portion of this movie, a good, chunk of the first half of this film, doesn't focus on Nancy really at all. They put the focus on the Chris character, who of course is like the Tina from the original. They did change the characters' names, which I thought was kind of weird, but I also did enjoy that. I liked that as well, because it wasn't completely copying off of the original, so it really did make it its own, except for, they still kept Nancy's name, which was kind of odd. Like, if you're going to change all the other characters' names, why didn't you change Nancy's? But oh well, I get it. They they wanted to keep the Nancy. I feel like maybe if they had changed Nancy's name, probably would have upset fans more. So I could definitely get that, and they wanted to maybe have that connection to the original by keeping her name. But yeah, the first big chunk of this film focuses on the Chris character, and you kind of feel like, okay, maybe she's gonna be a the main focus for this movie. Because I did go back and watch the original as well, and while Tina is focused on a bit in the beginning, she dies quite early. Chris didn't. They took a while to kill her off. And I honestly was kind of hoping when she died that they were gonna do like a role reverse and kill off Jesse. I thought he was gonna be I thought he was gonna be the one to die and be like thrown and dragged around the room. Um, I will say it does bum me out that she died so quickly. You know, she kind of gets thrown around a couple times and then just slashed through and dies. You know, there was all that lead up to it, and then she just died so quickly, which is really just a bummer for me. I thought they could have dragged it out a little bit longer. Tina definitely takes a little bit longer to die. Is kind of dragged around a lot more in the original, so I kind of wish they would have done that with Chris. You know, all that lead up, maybe make it last a little bit longer than it actually did, but that is okay. And I do like that they used that original death. So that was good though. I will say the classroom scene was amazing, where Chris realizes that she's starting to fall asleep, and she's like, "Wake up, wake up, wake up!" And it busts into Freddy's world. I thought that scene was amazing. The CGI and all of that was so fantastic. That is definitely probably my favorite part of this film. To be honest, I felt like it was the most well done part of the film. It wasn't too over the top CGI, and just the fact that it was like, you know, she sees Freddy's glove in the book, and then she's just like, oh shit, falling asleep, and she tries to wake herself up, and then just pow, she's instantly in Freddy's world. I thought was so awesome. So I definitely really, really loved that classroom scene. I will say another thing, one thing that did kind of really bother me in this was, and I know this bothered most people as well, was how heavily they played on the pedophile thing. It's kind of always been, you know, a fan theory, a very like implied thing throughout the original franchise. It's something we all kind of assumed, but in the original he is referred to as being a child murderer. You know, Nancy's mom in the original, when she shows her the glove that she has and tells her the story of what happened, it's because he was killing these children, and it's kind of just then assumed that there was more to it than that because of just kind of some of the way Freddy acts. You know, the glove coming up through Nancy's bathtub when she picks up the phone and it's his mouth and he's like, "I'm your boyfriend now," and just like how creepishly close he gets to Nancy. All things that kind of implied there was more to him, but they went really heavy on it, and it just creeped me out. I was kind of okay with it up until a certain point. I will say I hated why Nancy's mom, when she finally confesses and starts telling her daughter all the shit that happened, why she would tell her, like, you were his favorite, and go, like, she just goes a little bit too much into the details, I guess, of the, what happened to Nancy. They basically somehow brainwashed these kids into forgetting. That was another thing. They didn't go over that, which was kind of annoying. you know, they don't tell you what they did to make these kids forget. They were just brainwashed somehow. I'm assuming a therapist maybe did like some sort of like Get Out style hypnosis on them when they were younger. But they don't really cover that, which was annoying. But, you know, her mom wanted her to forget. She's finally telling her, but just like the fact that she was just like, you were his favorite. It was just like, why? When you don't want your daughter to know this stuff. I get it. You're finally confessing and telling her the truth because she's asked you to. I think any parent would like go into that much detail, and just the way she said it was really creepy. And then also, like when when it finally comes down to, you know, Nancy fighting off Freddy, and she's trying to, you know, bring him back into our world, her world, just the amount that they piled it on, like when she's in the nightie and being like held down on the bed, and he starts like talking about the dress and like touching her and stuff, that just, I drew the line. I was like, that entire thing just got too fucking much. Like, when she first sees him and they're at the preschool and he's like, you know, how can you not remember me? You were my favorite. You were my little Nancy. Like, that grossed me out, but I was still like, okay, we get it. Third play. But they just went too fucking heavy on it during, like, their fight scene. It was too fucking much. And I get it that, like, you know, he says, like, your memories are what fuels me. So a lot of it was, like, her remembering that stuff. But it's still just, it was too fucking much. It was like, okay, we get it. We've gotten it up until this point. Freddy was a pedophile, but you don't need to fucking pile it on that goddamn much. Especially because it's nothing that was really mentioned in the trailers. And I feel like, you know, obviously this movie has been out for a long time, but at the time that it came out, this shit can be triggering for people. Like, I mean, yeah, it's a fucking rated R film, but still, like, that's just, you're doing too fucking much. We got it before that. You didn't need to put all that on there. Like, and I get that maybe they were doing it because they really wanted to pile on just how shitty of a person Freddy was, because they do show the scene where everybody's like chasing him and he's trying to say like, I didn't do it, and it could seem like maybe they're trying to make Freddy, like, make you sympathize with Freddy, and they really wanted to pile it on that that's not what they were doing. Cool, but you just didn't have to go that heavy in it. That's just my opinion. Another thing that bothered me is when they were in, you know, the cave, the room, whatever, and Nancy was going to fall asleep so that she could bring Freddy back, was just how quickly Quentin fell asleep. So, I mean, I know he was like, let me do it. You know, you can't do this. You gotta let me do it. But, I mean, he had just injected himself with adrenaline like a few minutes before, and he still had another one. Which, I get it, he had to save the other one because he ended up having to use it on Nancy, so, I mean, it's a good thing he didn't use it. But still, it was like, dude, you just shot up yourself with God knows what kind of adrenaline stuff. You should be fucking hyped up. He's like instantly fell asleep. And I get it, he's been like sleep deprived and shit. And I had to make it all dramatic. You can just like be awake. But he just like instantly fell asleep. Like, could have given Nancy like a little bit of time to be like in the world looking for Freddy, whatever, and then had like Quentin slowly fall asleep and have Freddy like trying to kill him or whatever, and then go chase after Nancy. He just like fell asleep too fucking quickly, and I was like, you just promised Nancy you were going to stay awake, and then you instantly fucking fall asleep. Are you kidding me? That was annoying. Another thing that also bothered me, that I kept waiting for, was I was really hoping that they were going to recreate the bed death scene. Now, when Nancy falls through the floor of blood onto the bed, you could kind of see that as like a reverse take on it. But she doesn't die, obviously. I was hoping of all the deaths that they were gonna remake. Again, I liked the Christina death, but I really, really was hoping that they were gonna do that one. I can kind of understand why they didn't. It, they probably would have tried to CGI it, and it would have been way too much. And it really works as something just for an 80s film. But it's my favorite horror death, and I just was really waiting for that, so I was pretty bummed that that wasn't in there. But, what can you do? I did write down that I noticed some nods to Wes when Chris's mom is leaving and she leaves her alone in the house. She says that she has to catch a red eye. I mean, this is the first time that you know anything about like what Chris's mom does. Suddenly she's a flight attendant and she has to leave. And honestly, they could have just had her come up with another way that she was leaving, or just been like, I have to go and be in a flight attendant costume. But she specifically says, I have to catch a red eye. I don't know if that was intentional. For those of you who don't know, there is a fantastic Wes Craven horror film called Red Eye that has Cillian Murphy in it as the bad guy, and Rachel McAdams, who I also love. Really fantastic film. Highly suggest you check it out. Pretty sure you can find it online, Amazon, maybe on Hulu. I don't know. You can find it online to rent, I'm sure. So I felt like that was maybe a little bit of a nod to Wes Craven. I don't know if that was intentional. I had originally wrote down that when Chris's boyfriend comes through the window scene, and like startles her, that reminded me of Scream. But then I was watching the original, and that actually happens in the original as well. So I guess that's just taken from the original. So I originally wrote that the window scene reminded me of Scream, but it's actually from the original anyway. But I did feel like that red eye comment was maybe a little bit of a nod. If you guys found any other ones, any other little nods in there, let me know. That was kind of really the only ones, or I guess really only one that I found. But yeah, that just made me think of that. It probably wasn't intentional, but I hope that maybe it was. But yeah, overall, I really did like this film. I know I went over a lot of stuff